We are not only live coast to coast, but also worldwide. So let's take you to France right now, where a rise by the right seizes the headlines. Here's what's happening right now. A far-right National Party just took the lead in the first of two voting rounds in what's being called a snap election. And there's also word today of historically high turnout, as a lot of voters wanted either to block the far right or dump French President Emmanuel Macron's party. Joining us live from Paris right now is Eliane Cobbe. Eliane, why the rise of the right there in France? What is fueling this right now?
Reid, there's been a lot of dissatisfaction with President Macron's government from the pension reforms he brought in that led to huge protests, to a feeling that he's not doing enough for their purchasing power, and to a feeling that he's getting to be somewhat out of touch with what the people actually want. And when his party didn't do well during the recent European elections and the far right did do well, he called these snap elections, hoping the French voters would say, OK, we will join you in blocking the far right. But as you said, many said, look, we're just tired of your party. So the far right has been gradually moving itself to a much more acceptable image, and they're very keen on taking power and certainly pushing for a majority in next Sunday's decisive second round.
So let's talk about the majority. I'm having to take a masterclass in the structure of France's government, so maybe you can clear this up for me. But if the right takes the majority, that means that the president has to appoint as prime minister somebody from that party, correct? And in that environment, how can they work together?
Well, he doesn't actually have to, but if there's a majority, it would be unprecedented to not do so. However, at the moment, the polls predict that the far right will not get a complete majority, in which case the president could decide to simply ask the current prime minister to stay in power and rule a sort of an ad hoc coalition. And he might do that because of the Olympics that are coming up in later next month, in this month. And so it's something that is definitely on everyone's minds here. And he might simply say, look, we need, a holder government just for now, and then we'll get back to the real business. But if not, whatever happens, there will be what the French call a cohabitation, when the president is forced to work with a government that is not of his choosing or not completely of his choosing. And it means a lot of instability, a lot of wrangling over legislation, over budgets. We already know that the far right has its own ideas on loosening the EU hold on nation states, and also that it's not keen on NATO and has threatened to pull France out of it.
Can cohabitation lead to cooperation and all eyes of the world right now on France with, as you say, the Olympic Games about to start this month? Thank you so much, Eliane, for your live report.